Well, before the show, it was Love Island or the presidential debate, but you know what? Let's get to football instead. Yo, what's up, everybody? We are back with another episode, and today is This or That. We're picking this player or that player, Brian's group or Brennan's group. Whether we go left or right, I'm not too sure. But Brennan, how are we doing tonight? You ready to bring in some fire today?
I am, man. You know, all the hot topics of Love Island in my household and your household. Can't wait to actually talk about some football finally.
Hey, you know what? They've got some. She shouldn't have picked them, okay? I digress. We'll pull back. Before we get into this, though, let's talk about a little bit of news. There are some things happening because it's July. We're coming to the end of the month. Training camp's rocking and rolling. And, of course, if we haven't talked about this guy enough, Brandon Aiyuk requested a trade officially, I guess now is the word. A tactic you usually see, you know, we're scrubbing the Instagrams, we're scrubbing all the socials, we're requesting that trade, and inevitably you see the contract come through 4 weeks later, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty much the same tune in San Francisco. A lot of the guys, like Deebo, requested a trade and then finally got his contract. Nick Bosa, I don't think he requested a trade, but he was holding out in camp. At the end of the day, like, San Francisco's made it very clear they're not trying to trade him because the teams have called and they've literally just said, no, we're not trading him. I wants to get paid at a certain number, I feel like. I don't know what that number is, and I feel like San Fran has a number in mind where they're at. So it's a stalemate.
Yeah, I think the biggest the biggest nugget from this whole situation is he's under contract all of next year as well. So, like, he's not a free agent until the end of 2025. So, end of the day, he's not going to be holding out into the season. He just won't. Like, he has no leverage in the situation. He's just hoping to get the contract because I'm pretty sure he probably would rather stay with the Niners, a winning franchise. But at the same time, he wants to get paid. So will we see him trade before the deadline? We've talked about it before. I don't think so. Love to see it. For fantasy, I'd love to see it happen. Even though his it'd probably go down, if we're being honest, to most teams he'd go to. But I think it's just noise at this point.
Yeah, it's too early. It's mid-July. Training camp starts soon, which is great. I just think for him in this situation, it's like they obviously have this year, they have next year, which is the 5th-year option. And then they can franchise tag him. Like, it's like 3 years of control, and like I just don't see San Francisco just giving up that quickly. Now the only downside is what we've seen for guys who are in contract years. Let's just say, like, there's a little bit of a lingering shoulder injury. Like, I think they might sit out. So, like, that's like there is a downside to that, like, where they could, opt to just sitting out because they're going to risk a lot for that contract. So, but again, it's way too early to speculate. So, I still am drafting him in best ball like crazy. So.
Same. I still think he's worth where you can get him if you can get him at the end of the second round for the most part. Yep. If anything, all we're going to do is see Ricky Pearsall start moving up ADP boards. But I don't think that he's anybody that we need to absolutely jump on either, outside of best ball, of course. You smell that? Smell beer on your breath, boy. What is that? What you got? Oh. Not a DUI, because Addison sure does, or suspicion of one anyway. Poor taste, I know. My bad. But you know what? He brought it upon himself. This kid will not stay out of trouble. Get a damn driver. You're a first-round pick, dude. Get a freaking driver. But yes, arrested in L.A., falling asleep at the wheel, I guess, under suspicion of DUI.
Yeah, it's not a good look. This is the second incident. I mean, the first one, obviously we talked about it before, was he was speeding to save his dog. I mean, which I would do the same for my dog who's right below me sleeping. I mean, it's so, like, I get that aspect. I would definitely do the same. But there seems to be a problem with the thing that makes it worse is that 2 days later he posts pictures of him drinking mimosas, and it's like, and then also his teammate just passed away from a drunk driver. Like, it's just I don't know, man. It's just a little weird.
Yeah, it's one of those. Is this a pattern that this kid just won't learn? He's probably, 21, 22 years old, so I was really stupid at that age. So I can't, completely defend just that altogether, but this kid's got to figure it out. These guys are multimillionaires. They are just a different level within this world. So get shit figured out, Addison, because you've got a great first half of the season looking at you with Hawkinson being out. He told me I couldn't, folks, but I had to bring it up. Dustin Hopkins, the kicker. 3-year, $15 million. Okay, if anything, it's the fact that these kickers are making $5 million a year and the Browns are just shoveling money. I don't know. I guess I don't know, you have to sell your soul, what the hell the Saints did, but the Browns figured it out, and they are just, I guess, kicking that can down the road because Deshaun Watson's cap hit is ridiculous. They just signed Jerry Jeudy. They've got all this money they're pushing out. I don't get how it works, but yeah, kicker signed.
Kickers aren't real people for fantasy football, and if they're in your leagues, get rid of them.
Dude, I joined a dynasty league, and I didn't ask the format. There's a freaking kicker and defense in that league. It's the
Gross.
worst. Yeah,
Just
I'm going to give him a
gross.
year, and maybe I might. Well, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Gross.
Next thing we have is, of course, Atlanta. We've got more hype coming out of there. Talking about using Bijan as little CMC, and then Kyle Pitts is supposed to be out there running with the wide receivers. So, huge uptick in what we see, the amount that these guys touch the ball. The offense should be improved. Is there a cap? Like, can we overdraft these guys? I guess is what I'm looking at.
Not for Bijan and Kyle Pitts. I think Bijan's going respectively. I've seen him go top 5, which is fine. I think the ceiling is there for him to be like right there, finishing close to CMC. Kyle Pitts is a little bit, he's going after all the guys like Mark Andrews, Kincaid. So I understand that where he's going as a value. The only one that I'm slightly worried about is Drake London. Like, we haven't seen Drake London like take that next step. Now I get it. His quarterback play was awful last year with Desmond Ridder, but I've seen also really good wide receivers put up good numbers too. Like Garrett Wilson, he's had 1,000 yards each season with just crap at quarterback. So I'm a little leery where Drake London's going.
Same. It's you're buying him right about that ceiling price, and it's not fun when the gamble around him is significantly less.
I agree.
Last bit of news we have, it's that time. We're getting those videos. Nick Chubb, though, he is starring in the newest sensation video right now, squatting. Like, the bow and the bar is just unfreaking believable. But the guy is just squatting hundreds and hundreds of pounds. You buying into the hype?
I mean, a little bit. I mean, it's kind of impressive because, like, we saw the injury when he played against the Steelers where basically his leg bent the wrong way. And we've seen this before. It happened to him at the University of Georgia when he was there in college, and then it happens now, and we're just like, there's just no way he's going to come back. And then there's been more and more videos of being posted of him with, single leg movements, of him just, doing agility tests, and you're just like, this is ridiculous. Like, there's a reason why these folks get paid what they paid, and I am still recovering from patella tendon surgery that was 10 months ago to barely just still, like, jog. It's just crazy.
It really is. His age too, like, you should not be seeing this kind of recovery on a guy that's, the back end of his 20s. Incredible. Absolutely rooting for the guy, but I think I'm going to be rooting for him on other teams, just not really wanting to take that risk, even though it's baked in. I think it's about 8th round right now. I'm just okay letting it slide. A little later.
It's a little later than that. I mean, Jerome Ford's still going ahead of him, but I will tell you this much. After I saw that video in Best Ball Drafts, I was just like, it looks pretty good. I'm going to take him. Why not?
Yeah, it's hard. I've completely ignored him all best ball summer, and right now I'm like, oh, did I fuck up? Maybe.
My exposure's going up a little bit. Yeah.
Alrighty, that's enough of the news. Let's get to what people came for. A little this or that. I had a little too much fun with that.
Yes, you did.
All right, so starting off, we came to the table with a handful, whether it be 1-to-1 player or 2-to-2 variations, but we've got some players we need to talk about. First one, you want to throw out what we're talking about here?
Yeah, so I came up with some, like, obviously I have this one for the first year. So it's CJ Stroud versus Jordan Love, and CJ Stroud's currently going at ADP 69, and that is actually declining more and more. People are starting to realize it. And then Jordan Love is sitting at ADP 98. I am not slandering CJ Stroud. Again, I think he is a phenomenal quarterback. I think the Texans as a team, as a whole, will be very good and will probably have double-digit wins. However, Stroud is not the ceiling of what you think he is in regards to fantasy football. He's going after guys like Kyler Murray, like Joe Burrow. I think he's more closer to QB 12 than he is QB6. And Jordan Love last year, I mean, he finished as QB5 and he's going as QB11 right now.
But he lost a bunch of pieces, didn't he?
No.
Oh, well, he lost.
He actually added Josh Jacobs to his offense. Yeah,
okay.
I have a hard time seeing Love not finish as a top 10. Like, he'll be right there, like 8, 9, or 10, probably right in that range. And I just think you can build with that because compared to where Stroud's going, where guys are there, I just see more of a value to draft like your flex spot or, a wide receiver 3 in that area. I think it's just too rich of my blood to take someone like Stroud at 69. I'd rather wait and take Love later. I don't know how you feel about that.
69. Sorry. No, you're right there. I'm same camp as you. I really can't find the argument to take the other side of it. When CJ Stroud's going, into the 4th round, and then you've got Jordan Love going in the beginning of the 8th, these are quarterbacks built the same. They're statue-esque quarterbacks. They're not going to give you a lot of scrambling. So that's why they are valued where they are as QB1s. They're great, but they're never going to give you that top end that Kyler's going to give you, that Anthony Richardson's going to give you, that Lamar is going to give you. So, yeah, when I don't really see, I mean, talent's probably a little better on CJ Stroud's side as far as the top end talent, but overall, I think Love has more to work with. Like, one injury and CJ Stroud's kind of wavering it. If Tank Dell comes back slow or, Stephon Diggs hits that cliff, I think Love has a lot more to fall back on as far as like deeper depth at his talent. So it's really hard for me to argue CJ Stroud in any shape or form.
I agree.
Ready for the next group?
I am.
Nice. All right, this one's a little twofer here. So this one, we could either be taking Andrews, the tight end, in the 4-5 turn, or Tank Dell, and then your matching at the 6-7 turn would be either Godwin or Engram. So Andrews and Godwin, or Dell and Engram. Which wide receiver tight end combo?
I think I'm leaning towards Andrews and Godwin, and I'll say this. I think Andrews is still the number one option for Lamar. I don't think Zay Flowers has, moved that needle for me, even though he's going ahead of him in most drafts, which I think is crazy. And then we just heard that Chris Godwin's going to go back in the slot role, and that's where he's flourished for him being as a wide receiver. I love Tank Dell. I think he's the better option over Stephon Diggs, and I think Ingram's a very, very safe player, but I think Andrews has a closer chance of finishing as tight end 1 than Evan Engram does, and I think Chris Godwin and Tank Dell could finish relatively the same. So I think Andrews is just more of a upside than it is for Engram. I don't know how you feel about that.
Unfortunately, we're going to agree here as well. I think it's just so much more polarizing of a player that you get with Mark Andrews. Engram, I am not disrespecting him. I've been riding the Engram train since he left the Giants. I think it's a great addition, what he plays, that role position. Tank Dell, I do think he could give you a top 10, top 8 finish overall. He has that ceiling. But more realistically, I think it's going to be a lot closer to Godwin than it is to a top 8, top 6 finish. I think you're going to need other things to happen for him to really blow up. And Chris Godwin, I think he's going to be closer to a wide receiver 2 than a wide receiver 3 this year. So it's Andrews. He gives you just an unreal, number 1 overall finish. Engram,
yeah,
I think he's
at the end of the day, if we saw at the end of the year Mark Andrews finished as tight end 1, we wouldn't be shocked. We're like, yeah, he's done that before. He's actually a really good tight end. Like, if Evan Engram finished as tight end 1, we'd kind of be like, oh wow, that what happened?
If one of these 4 players had to bust on you, who do you think has the highest chance to give you an issue?
Bust.
Would it be Godwin? Or maybe not bust, just not return their ADP value.
Not return their ADP.
Yeah.
Probably. I mean, Tank Dell is probably the one that kind of sticks out where it's a possibility, just because there's so many mouths to feed in Houston.
Yeah, I don't like to lean into injury, but I think that is one. He's a tiny guy, and he did exactly what we were afraid would happen last year. So I do think if you have to put any sort of merit onto injury proneness, fuck Mark Andrews. I think it would be Tank Dell first.
It still blows my mind. They had a 5'10", 165-pound wide receiver in a run blocking scheme, and you're surprised that he snapped his leg. It just still blows my mind they had that as a play. The littlest guy, you're gonna go block.
That's Houston for you.
Yeah.
All right, give us these next 2. Which ones are we looking at?
All right. So we have David Montgomery, who's going at ADP 78. And then we have Gus Edwards, who he's going at ADP 117. So let me ask you, who would you pick between those two?
This is a hell of a matchup here. We are looking at very similar players. These are supposed to be touchdown machines. These guys are not the elite ones that should be running an offense solo, but that's kind of, at least for the Chargers, that's what we have happening here. I think the ADP split is, baked into how good these offenses are, as far as the Lions should be a top 5, top 8 offense. Chargers, we're hoping they're top 16. But that price reduction, though, that's what, 3-ish rounds?
Yeah.
I don't know. I think I'm going to take Gus Edwards. I'm a big value guy. I'm all leaning into that. But does he give us that same season that we got last year? I just don't know if he does.
Man, I was hoping you'd pick Montgomery. No, I'm in the same boat. I'm taking
Shit.
I'm taking Gus. I think Gus is an extreme value this year. It's just so hard to imagine that he doesn't get double-digit, touchdowns again. Just because, look who's behind him as a running back. He has a rookie, Kamani Vidal. He's got J.K. Dobbins, who is good, but he's still coming back from an injury. I think it's Brian Spiller, who their running back has never panned out. He's probably like RB4. I just see Gus Edwards being the goal line back, and where he's getting drafted at, he could definitely be a flex play for you. It's pretty safe each week. Montgomery's case, it's just you're basically relying on him to just be a touchdown machine, which I do think the Lions are going to be very good this year. But Jahmyr Gibbs is ahead of him, and he's way more talented, and he can do a lot more on the field than people realize. It's hard. You're basically hoping for David Montgomery every week to have a touchdown and at least anywhere from 40 to 60 yards rushing. And with Gus Edwards, it'd be cool if he got that, but you're drafting him so late that there's the higher possibility of it happening.
If anything, too, you can grab both of these guys. If you go a very fragile RB, you hit the wide receiver, maybe a tight end and a quarterback early, these are two guys that I wouldn't mind as my running back build, just on, falling into those touchdowns. But you're not going to see a lot of high volume players, at this range, especially closer to Gus Edwards. When you see Nick Chubb is going at 806 compared to Gus Edwards at 1004 on Sleeper. That's wild. But around Gus Edwards, you've got Blake Corum, Chase Brown, Ezekiel Elliott, Trey Benson. I just don't think anybody's going to see the volume that Gus will see.
Exactly. Week. I'm right there with you.
Well, damn it. Follower.
Stop agreeing with me. Yeah.
Guys, you should have seen us on the Love Island talk. We were just nailing it head to head. We just focused. All right, next duo we have. This will be picking from early 4th and the early 8th position. Would you rather have Rashod White and Ladd McConkey, or Malik Neighbors and Mostert, Raheem Mostert? He's got a couple of rookie wide receivers.
I think this is pretty easy for me, honestly. I think this is a smash. I'm taking Malik Neighbors and Raheem Mostert all day.
Really?
Yeah, I think Malik Neighbors will finish. I don't know where he's being drafted. Probably right around where he's going. I think he gets close to 80 receptions, 90 receptions. He is the talent's there. He's obviously right there, close to Marvin Harrison Jr. He's going to be the number one option in an offense that's hopefully being revitalized with a better offensive line. And then Raheem Mostert, obviously having 20-plus touchdowns last year, which is crazy. He's not going to do that again. But, I still think he can get double-digit because it's not going to go. His backfield is now Devon Achane, which they will use, but you use him in different roles compared to Raheem Mostert. At the goal line, they're not going to give Devon Achane the goal line. They're going to give it to Raheem Mostert. I just think where you're getting the price valued for ADP, I like Malik Neighbors as my potentially wide receiver, which is wide receiver 2, and Mostert as my running back 2, compared to Rashod White as my running back 2 looks like, and then Ladd McConkey, who I'm banking on to hopefully be something with a brand new team, and it's a rookie wide receiver.
Has played there before, right?
Yes, obviously.
I think the wide receiver is a very similar situation. Is Malik Neighbors drastically more talented than Ladd McConkey? Absolutely. That's not the game we're playing here. But as far as a rookie going to a team, a situation, I think McConkey, he could be looking at a very similar pie size as far as the target percentage of his team. We've got Quentin Johnston there and Josh Palmer, but like, are those guys really going to separate? Lad McConkey has just as good a chance, I feel like, as Malik Neighbors does. And we're talking about the Chargers potentially being closer to a 500 team than the Giants. You know, the Giants are in contention for a top 3, top 5 pick. So garbage time points kind of do favor in Neighbors a little bit more, but they're going to throw the ball. Somebody has to catch it there with the Chargers. And then Rashod White. It's not a sexy pick. I get it. It's not sexy at all, especially early in the 4th round. But what did they really bring in? Not a whole lot. You know, they brought in a rookie receiving back, 3rd round, I believe.
Bucky
Irving. Yeah. From Oregon, who didn't do great. He is a receiving back. But Rashod White, that's his bread and butter, is catching the ball. That's what put him where it was this past year, is just because he caught so many passes. And I don't see that changing too much. We just got done talking about Chris Godwin going to the slot, but if we see age touch him and Mike Evans, not in a Deshaun Watson way, but to the point where it slows him down a little bit, I think that we could see a bigger hole open up for Rashod White. And it's just a little bit younger. Mostert's old. He's our age. We don't like that, As we just talked about, somebody's not recovering from a surgery too fast,
Nope, not at all. Let me ask you this, to end this argument, though. Would you be shocked if Joshua Palmer led the Chargers in receptions and yards, though?
No, not at all.
Okay, would you be shocked if Wan'Dale Robinson led the team in reception and yards?
Put Darius Slayton in that sentence, and I might actually say yes.
Okay. Sure. Would you be surprised if Darius Slayton led the team in reception and yards with Malik Neighbors being on the team?
I can see Slayton finishing yards, but no. I get what you're saying.
I just saying, like, the possibilities of where these guys are going and everything else like that. Rashod White also scares me too, because they did lose their offensive coordinator. Mm-hmm. And so we just don't know what this new offensive coordinator is going to bring to the table.
Copy paste.
I hope
they brought him in. Hey, you're going to do exactly what he did last year.
Yeah. Again, so it's just more of like you're just unsure and uneasy with me for the Tampa Bay offense this year.
I get that, and that's kind of where I feel with the Giants. It's a question mark for sure. All right, let's get these next duo. What are we looking at?
So we're looking at Saquon Barkley, who's going around ADP 20, compared to Isaiah Pacheco, who's going around ADP 42. Let me ask you, who would you like to build your guy around, and what round?
That's interesting. I've got Pacheco finishing as a top 12 running back this year. I've also got Barkley up there finishing as like a top 7-ish running back. So with his pass catching ability, I think he's going to be great. But that price, it's really hard not to. I'm going to take Barkley. Let me take Barkley at 20. Okay. I think, at least with the way ADP is shaking out right now, you can still get a near elite running back. This is going to be the first year with the team. This is going to be a great offensive line, though. I think Kellen Moore is really going to push this offense, the tempo up more. They're going to look so much better than they did last year, and you're bringing him in, who is vastly better than DeAndre Swift and Pacheco. If that defense isn't near as good as they were last year, they did lose. I'm not going to even say his first name, Snead. They lost Snead on the defensive back. Yeah, there you go. It just wasn't rolling out right now. But Isaiah Pacheco, if the touchdowns don't fall his way, if Kelsey gets a couple more than he did last year, maybe that pulls him back some. So I'm going to take Barkley just because I don't really feel too much as far as downside with him.
I think I'm leaning more so to Pacheco. I think this year for Kansas City, it's a different year. They definitely have, invested more into the offense with adding Hollywood, drafting Xavier Worthy. And they didn't really add any competition behind him. Like, it's still him. They picked up Clyde on a very cheap deal. Which is not even really worth mentioning. I just think with where you take Barkley, you are really hoping for him to basically be a top 5 running back, which I think he will be at the end of the day. But I just think that Isaiah Pacheco's ceiling is also potentially top 5 in this offense, just because he down the stretch in the playoffs, we saw that he actually could catch the ball too, and they implemented that more in the offense. So I think his role will start to increase and to be more of a cowbell role and just be 70-30 splits. And I don't think Saquon Barkley will also be like 7-30, but I just think where you take him with guys like Chris Olave there, Nico Collins, who I just think will be a little bit more of a safer pick, I guess, so to speak.
Yeah, I do see a world that Isaiah Pacheco finishes with a like Raheem Mostert season last year, where he catches some balls, but the touchdowns is what propels him to such heights. I don't think it's out of the realm of possibilities. This team is going to be great on both ends of the ball, but if we're not catching the deep ones like we really hope to see this year with Worthy and Hollywood, Pacheco's going to be there to pound it out. So I don't hate either one. These are two targets of mine. I'm just glad we can disagree finally. All right, next one we have. Well, Pacheco's coming back on the board. We've got to talk about him. These are going to be picture making in the mid first and mid third round picks. Would you rather have Breece Hall and Deebo Samuel or Jamar Chase and Isaiah Pacheco?
I'm smashing Jamar Chase and Pacheco. I'm like running to the podium as quick as possible. So for me, it's Jamar Chase is, in my opinion, and this you could say it's a little bit controversial, but I don't think it really is. I think Jamar Chase is the most talented wide receiver in the NFL. I think he's more talented than Justin Jefferson. I think obviously you see the stats with Justin Jefferson, which is great, but I think truly on a talent level, it's Jamar Chase. So I think Jamar Chase could potentially have an amazing season. And I'm saying Breece Hall won't, but I think what people forget is that Breece Hall had over 100 receptions last year. I mean, if Aaron Rodgers is playing, Breece Hall will get the ball for sure, but I don't think it'll be at the level it was last year where it was just all Breece Hall and nobody else, because literally they had nothing else. The quarterback couldn't throw farther than 10 yards accurately. So I just feel like if Aaron Rodgers is just like a shell of himself, even they'll get better play at a quarterback, and I just think the ball will be spread out a little bit more. So I just think Jamar Chase is just more closer to one than Breece Hall could be closer to one. And then I just like Pacheco. Obviously, I just argued with him for him, just last guy. So I don't know how you sit with this one.
It's hard. I feel, despite me taking Barkley in the last one, Jamar Chase and Isaiah Pacheco, I don't think there's a loss there. The Breece Hall argument, I waver back and forth because 100% I don't think he's going to see the target volume that he saw in the back half of last year. That's the only way the offense could move. But on the other hand, this team should be more competitive. They should be in higher scoring position, and also they improve the offensive line. So the touchdowns and the rushing, we'll see like 2.5, 3 yards a carry in some of those games because the offensive line was so poor. So I think that can offset a lot of the targets that he was seeing. And then Deebo. What season do we get out of Deebo? Do we get the pedestrian, low-end wide receiver 2 with spikes? Or do we get to see the guy that was touching the ball not only through land, but also, up in the air? So I think it's really, where do you see Deebo? Do you buy into the Aiyuk news? Do you think he leaves? Because if he leaves, Deebo is, he could, match that top 5 season we saw just a couple seasons ago with that type of volume. But there's so many mouths up there in San Francisco that it does make it questionable. I think I'm going to side with you. Give me Jamar Chase. Give me Pacheco. I think the Bengals are going to have a bounce back season.
Yeah, and I just think when you look at it, so Breece Hall, I think for sure finishes RB1. Like I think as an top 10 for sure. Jamar Chase, same thing, wide receiver 1 for sure finishes in that. Isaiah Pacheco, I still think is going to finish as an RB1. Like I even if it's 12, it's still an RB1. Deebo, I think, is more closer to 2 than he is 1, and I think that's what's the separator there for me. So I'm getting 2 1s compared to Breece Hall and Deebo, who for sure is a 1, but is he more of a 2 than he is 1?
Yeah, I think Deebo right now I've got like the high 20s on my rankings.
Yeah, I think he's in the mid, like 15, 16, somewhere around there for me.
All right, our next matchup. Let's go a little deeper. We've got Walker.
Yep.
Kenneth.
So we have Kenneth Walker here, who is ADP 69, your favorite number, and James Conner, ADP 88. So let me ask you, who would you rather have? There's about a round and a half difference here, closer to 2.
I mean, it sounds like I've got my coupon book with me. All I'm going is bargain shopping here. But James Conner, I don't know. I'm not saying Kenneth Walker's talent isn't there, but over these first couple seasons, I haven't been bought in enough to actually play with. I don't have a single dynasty share of him. I rarely take him in best ball. Redraft, I haven't played with him yet, so maybe it's just inexperience. I haven't got to have the guy on my team to fall in love with those spike weeks that he gives. But Charbonnet wasn't a scrub last year. Did he perform great? No, but that team was they came back to the regression after the year prior. I think they've got a new OC that's going to bring this team up a little bit more. Geno Smith had a horrible touchdown rate, so I think that's going to help this offense move a little bit more, and potentially putting Kenneth Walker in better positions where they're not having to play catch up as much, and they can try and hold on the league. But James Conner, that's a man's man over there in Carolina, and it's just
You say Carolina?
Arizona. I think I was looking at the seed. I don't know. Who knows what happened there? But yes, Arizona. It's hard not to take him there at 88. That's guaranteed work for at least 10, 12 games.
Yeah, I mean, there's a theme with some of the guys that I picked here. It's all about just evaluating their ADPs, and I think it's the biggest thing we can take away from the show is that just because they're going there doesn't mean they're worth taking there. I'm also on the James Conner side. I just have a hard time. Everyone's worried about his injury history, but I don't gamble on injuries. I gamble on the player, and I think James Conner, when he's on the field, is going to put up a higher production than he would than Kenneth Walker, because Grubb is their now offensive coordinator. Comes from the University of Washington. Runs a lot of 3 wide receiver sets. Not saying that it's going to eat into Kenneth Walker's attempts and everything else like that. It's just there's going to be more volume throwing the ball than there is running, and I just think with James Conner back there, he is going to be solidified as a role. And I know they drafted Trey Benson, the rookie, who's pretty exciting, but at the end of the day, they love James Conner there in Arizona.
Yeah, last year the contract, I think they're going to use him out, finish him out here. Like you said, he is loved over in that locker room, and he's going to be loved on my teams as well.
Big facts.
All right, we got 2 more here. Let's do this double. Of course, I had to go with all my bargain shopping. I've got to get Kirk Cousins down there, into the 12th pick, and then into the 8th pick. So do you want Deontay Johnson and Kirk Cousins, or would you rather have Caleb Williams and Raheem Shaheed?
I am for sure going to take Deontay Johnson and Kirk Cousins more than I would take Caleb Williams and Rashid Shaheed. And why I think that is, so Caleb Williams, I think, is a great quarterback, and I think he will finish a lot higher than a lot of people expect in fantasy, just because I think he's going to an amazing situation. But I think Kirk Cousins also is in an amazing situation himself with great weapons around him. I think they could finish relatively similar in quarterback finishes, and then I just think Deontay Johnson is going to be a PPR machine in Carolina. I think Bryce Young is going to look for somebody quick. It'll be Deontay Johnson, and I just think Rashid Shaheed is someone. He's going to be the wide receiver 2 for New Orleans, and he's going to have some weeks that are just like Gabe Davis type, where it's just like 3 receptions, 150 yards, and 2 touchdowns. But then you're also going to have weeks that are like 1 reception for 25 yards. And I just think Deontay Johnson's going to be a little bit more safer on the production side, and that's why I lean towards that side.
Yeah, it's definitely one of the a tale of old and busted or new hotness. Like these are unsexy picks over there with Deontay Johnson and Kirk Cousins, brand new teams. You've got question marks there, but I think that's the biggest piece on the wide receivers you said is they're both going to be subpar offenses, but would you rather have the 1 in Deontay Johnson or the 2 in Raheem Shaheed? Derek Carr, Bryce Young, is there really a difference? There is, but at the same time, it's the difference of 1 and 2 on a crappy offense. And then you got Kirk Cousins, a guy that we've seen prop up multiple wide receivers as, top 12 wide receivers. We saw him do it with Thielen and Diggs. We've seen him do it with Jefferson and Thielen. And then Caleb Williams, a rookie, all the pieces around him to be great. But we don't traditionally see a lot of passing touchdowns come from these quarterbacks. So I think the Bears are going to be limited compared to the Falcons this year. And 100%, give me the old guys. Jump on board. Let's ride.
Wow, Brian just loves taking all my picks.
Yeah, that's what we do here. No opposing arguments. We tried that for a little bit, folks, but we couldn't air those episodes. It got nasty. Yeah, went below the belt. Your mom jokes were flying. It was just.
Brian made fun of my weight. It wasn't really nice of him either.
Well, when you stick it out there, man, you just make it. No, just kidding. Oh yeah. All right, let's get this last group done. Who are we looking at?
So we are looking at Zay Flowers, who's got an ADP of 35, and Calvin Ridley, who's got an ADP of 56. So I'm going to ask you, who are you going to take?
Ooh, gross. Give me Zay Flowers. Give me Zay Flowers. It's a battle of the price is hard here because Zay Flowers is not the number one for his team. Mark Andrews is. We talked about it already with Mark Andrews, but Calvin Ridley he could be the guy for that team. DeAndre Hopkins is there as well to kind of throw things off, but it's also going to be Will Levis. It's a bottoming offense.
You don't like mayo in your coffee?
I don't like coffee, much less mayo. Like, oh, man, do I take the kid that sprouted up a little bit? You know, the petals were coming out. Do I take flower? I'm going to go Flowers. Let me go Flowers.
Okay. I'm in a disagreement here. I think I'm going to take Calvin Ridley here. I just think you're going to get very similar numbers from both of them. Like, I think they could basically be identical. And if I'm going to take someone that's just going to be identical, I'm going to take the cheaper argument because, like, where Zay Flowers is going, he's going around like, let's see here. Let me go to my chart here. Zay Flowers is like, I'd rather have Cooper Kupp than Zay Flowers. I'd rather have a lot of these other guys. It's just like where he's going, like Alvin Kamara, Malik Neighbors, even the guy on his team, Mark Andrews, going like 6 spots ahead of him. I just think that where he is ADP, he has to finish as a wide receiver too, because that is a building block of your team. And I just think it's I would say sketchy. It's very sketchy to have Zay Flowers be a building block for your team compared to Calvin Ridley, who's more going to be your wide receiver 3 or your flex play.
Oh, man, it's hard. I love betting on second and third year receivers.
I do too.
It's a great bet to have. And then I also love betting against older wide receivers that change teams. Just a few years ago we saw Julio Jones come over here to Tennessee and didn't go too well. A couple years older than Calvin Ridley is now, but God, I just don't know if I want to buy into this offense. But your reasons against Zay Flowers are valid. Where you have to buy him is something I don't want to do, and I haven't done a whole lot of this offseason. So in a pickle, I'll take the production. I think Zay Flowers will finish above Ridley this year. We'll timestamp this. I don't know if I'm going to like this in a month, but
yeah,
right now I'm going to take Ridley.
I can't. Remind me in 4 months.
And I'll just deny everything.
Yeah, exactly.
But folks, we asked all these questions about all these receivers. Do you want to take this one or that one? This one or that one? Talk about a guy that we want to take. We waited till the very end, and you don't know what his ADP is? Who gives a shit? Because Christian Watson here, it's just the best grab. This or that, I'm taking him every day of the week. Oh my goodness. In agreement, maybe?
No.
Damn it. Well, stay tuned, folks. The newest pod from the Fantasy Football Advice Network, Too Much Christian Watson, will be airing every day of the week. 4-hour episodes. It's going to be beautiful.
And just then, Christian Watson has requested a restraining order from Brian here.
He did block me on the Twitter, but it's okay. I've got fake accounts. We'll find him. Oh, man. All right, we got to get out of here. It's getting bad. Before we do, Brennan, what you working on? Where can the people find you?
You can find me on X, which is FFANBMulk, and the Fantasy Football Advice Network. I'm over there on that channel, and also on the Facebook group page there. Most of the questions that you guys post, I typically try to respond as quick as possible. So that's where I'm at.
That's where he's at. And you know what? I'm right there with him. Fantasy Football Advice Network, all over this YouTube page, dropping videos here left and right. Of course, all over Twitter at right there at @too_much_Brian. What do we have coming up next? We've got our gambles. All the risky gambles coming up next. Of course, we did drop the Superflex mock draft show, so make sure you go back and check that out. And of course, we'll be having more mock drafts all off season. But until then, let's get out of here.